Hello again. Let's continue where we started, in Java 2. Now this is Java 3. I'm going to continue this one. As you can see here, the main is called the method, but you could have more methods, right? You could have more methods. You can write here something like public. I'll make it as a static for now and tell you why. Static. And then void, I'll call it do work or whatever. Do work, okay? And do work, I'll copy all this code, I'll put it in do work, okay? Now, let's run it, and you will not have an error yet. You will have something weird. Let's see it, run. Okay. What is it? Look at here, the output. Absolutely nothing. Why is this? Because this function hasn't been called by the main. The only code that executes is the main. Now that I moved it here, it's not being executed. How would you execute it? Call the name of this method. Look here. You call the method like this. Okay, now let's run it again. Here it works. Remember, I write my name, I write my age, and here is the output. Here is this and years old. Okay. So what happened is when the main worked, it found the function call here, it called it, it went to the beginning of the function and started executing the function one by one. When it's over, it goes back to after the do work. There is nothing after the do work, and that's why the program stops. Okay? Now let's do something cool. I'll do public static int, function will return an integer, and then get max. What does this function do? It takes x and it takes y as input parameters. And I'll show you how we do this. Okay. And for now, let's forget about the max and return x plus y. Let's forget about the name. Or let me rename it so you don't get confused. I'll name it sum, okay? So it returns the sum, okay, of the two numbers. Now how do you do it? Let's define my scanner. You can tell me, okay, we defined it in the function. Now it belongs to the function. You need to redefine it again, okay? And then I'll do this just to save time. Here, I'll write here enter x, enter y, and here when you're reading, remember, we'll define int x here equal this, because now you need to read integer dot next integer. And the same here is going to be for the second one, but I'll define it as y. Right? So I read here the x, I read here the y, those are just input messages. I'll make lines so they're not in the same line. Okay, so print line. And then I need to get the sum of x and y. How will I do this? I'll call the function and send x, comma, y. Does it have to be the same naming as this one? Absolutely not. You can call it w and h. Let me call it w and this h. Okay? How does it know that w will go to x and h will go to y? By the sequence, okay? By the sequence. Okay? Let's call this w and let's call this H. Okay. Now define the result. Why? Because see, this function is taking x and y and returning the sum of x and y. Return. It returns it back, x and y. So the sum here will return the x and y. So here I'll say int z equals the sum of w and h. W is x. How did I know? Because w is the first one and x is the first one. Here, why am I writing int here and int there, int x and int y? Because this is a definition. I'm saying that the function, I'll explain the function now. I'll just show you the output. Now I'll say as a message here, x plus y equal, and then comma z, because z here is taking the, sorry, not comma, plus, okay, z, because z here is taking the result. I'll explain it now after you see the output. Let's run it. Okay, I forgot to disable the first one. Let's write my name, Yahya, and then the age, sorry, and then here enter x. I forgot to do a new line. I'll adjust this. Enter x, let's say 4. Enter y, let's say 6. So x plus y equal 10. Okay, let's just fix that. We don't need the do work anymore. We already have seen it. I'll disable it this way and make it as a comment, so it will not run. Okay, and here I'll do this, and I'll write here system.out.println. What will I print? Nothing. Why this? To get a new line. Okay, and then I'll do it here again, and I'll remove the lines from here. What is the effect of what I did here? You will see it in a second. Now here I'm saying I'm defining the scanner as we have talked about the last video. I'm printing enter x without a new line, so the reading will be in the same line after you say enter x, and then when you click enter the value of x or w or whatever, you will take a new line for the second message to be enter y and so on. So when you run it now, okay, of course do work will not work now because I disabled it, and then enter x, let's say 10, enter y, let's say, I don't know, 34, so the sum should be 44. Now x plus y equals 44. So how did I write this function? Look, public, visible by everybody, as you will see later. Static, I'll tell you what it is. Integer is the data type that the function returns. This is how you define it. The data type of the function, the name of the function, and the input parameter. The data type means what type of data will the function return. What if the function returns nothing, like this function? Then it returns void, because void means nothing. Okay, but this function takes two inputs and sum them up and return the result. And what is the result? Integer. That's why I wrote it integer sum. The name of the function is sum, the type is integer, and the input parameter. For every input parameter, you have to say its type as well. The first input parameter is considered integer, the second input parameter is considered integer. What if they are a string and a string, or float and integer, or whatever it is and whatever it is? You write the type here and the type there, okay? The function can take many input parameters. So you can say something like int d, int e, double ss, whatever. Okay, you can put as many input parameters as you want. Okay, so how does it work? Well, as soon as the program works, it always starts from the main and then goes for the first statement. It defines it, which is creating the scanner, then it outputs this message, which is enter X, then it reads the value from the user, then it takes a new line and then enter the Y, and then reads the second value from the user, and then it calls the function. Here's how we call the function. We're saying call the function sum that is defined here with W and H. W will go to the first one, which is X, and H will go to the first one, which is Y. We'll execute and we'll give the result back to Z. And then you will hear print just an empty, nothing, which will make a print line, and then you will output the result. What is the result? With the Z. Okay, I will show you something cool. You can actually not define Z here. Okay, you can call it this way. You can call it this way. Okay, so instead of taking the value of the sum that it returns in a variable and then put the variable here, you can actually do it this way. So enter X, let's say it's 12, enter Y, let's say it's 32, so the result should be 42. Now X plus Y equals 42. Okay? All right, now let's do something else. What I wanted to do in the beginning, I'll say get max. What get max? It returns the maximum. So if X is greater than Y, it will return X. If Y is greater than X, it will return Y. If they're equal, it will return any of them. Okay? You can actually write it this way. X greater than Y. And you want to ask, is X greater than Y? You write it this way. Then you return X, else you return Y. Okay? Here, return X, return Y. I'll show you this later. For now, I'll write it because I want to show you the if statement. See the if statement. If X is greater than Y, I'll return X, else return Y. Okay? So we say here if X is greater than Y, I return X, else I return Y. If else. If this condition is true, if X is truly greater than Y, return the result as X. If it's not, return the result as Y. So now, what if X is equal to Y? So Y will be back, right? It doesn't matter. Why not? Because X is Y in this case. So whether you return Y or X, it doesn't matter. What if Y is greater than X? You will return Y. What if X is greater than Y? You will return X. Okay? So here is get max, and then let me here. I'll write this here. Max value is plus, and then get max. I'll send W, comma H. Okay. Let's run this. Okay. Let's say X is 20, Y is 19. So the sum is 39 and X is great. Okay, X plus Y is 39, maximum value is 20 because X is 20, X is great, right? Let's write it again. Let's write the X is 20. Now the Y, I'll put it 23. Then here it is. 43 is the sum and the maximum is 23. Let's write it again, run it again. enter the value as the same. Look at what's going to happen. The sum is 50 because 25 and 25, and the maximum is 25, which is one of them. Okay. All right. I'll stop here for this video because it's already big, and I'll continue the next video.